we get to enjoy seeing her again. She hasn't been around to the Webster Museum History in a Cup. She used to come all the time, and her brother.
You aren't gonna hold it against her, are you?
No.
All right.
As long as she came today. She cleared the slate. So glad to have you.
You were kind to clear the slate for a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday.
Yeah, I know.
So thank you.
That was Carolyn has something she does on Wednesday.
Standing appointments.
A standing appointment, so I had to move it to Tuesday. So that's all right. It worked out for us. And we're glad to have her here. And Dave, of course, you know, is Carolyn's son. And they will tell their story. And that's what this is about. It's like down-home story about from families or people who grew up in Webster. So we used to start with we had the old farmers, and they told stories about jumping on the train at 2:50 and jumping off the train at Phillip Road before it sped up. But anyway, we had crazy stories from the farmers.
Did they tell you how to make hard cider while they were here?
I heard they used to have a barrel in the basement, right?
And what's the story behind hard cider mix?
Well, we can start with that.
Okay, I'll let you
You
start.
started it with the farmers jumping on and jumping off.
No,
Well, I was thinking of how the Marshers had told us that they used to walk the cattle. They came on the cattle cars across 250 up to where their farm was. That's how they got the cows that they had on their farm. We heard them tell that a few years ago.
She remembers these stories better than I do.
Well, let me start by saying that our family arrived in Webster in 1944, and we've been around ever since.
Good year.
So it puts you in a time frame that starts then. And at that time, G. Robert Whitmer was the town supervisor, and W.R. Hawley was the mayor of Webster. And there were about 7,000 people that were in the total. And Eugene Bates, and it was a great privilege for me to eventually work in Wally World, because Wally had been my pharmacy school classmate. And he chose to come to Webster to spend his pharmaceutical life. And some of you know that he passed away earlier this year. And in the meantime, had given his whole life to independent pharmacy in Webster. And we owe him a great deal of gratitude for that. And so most of you who are here today began when you still had independent pharmacy. And I think we've all had a wonderful life in pharmacy. I can tell you some more things, but I'm going to stop for a minute and have David tell you about what the next generation experienced.
Carolyn, I want to know, were you there when, I think you were, when Kodak gave out the anniversary camera?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you tell them about that?
Well,
I think that was nice what you're...
Kodak did a lot of things, as we all know, and it's been a tough time to get to the end of what we knew Kodak to be. And it was hard on the employees, and I think people found other employment, but it was a revolution.
Yeah, but when they gave out the camera.
The camera? Was
12-year-olds,
Was
right?
that a white camera?
I don't know.
The reason I say that is because, well,
I was
some
gonna say
people
red.
know I've had a few cameras in the office,
Yeah.
but, which started, interestingly enough, with Miss Stone. Anybody remember Miss Stone as the Latin teacher? Well, anyway, those I should have cut out everybody who lived in the neighborhood. But Miss Stone was great, and when she died, I received her camera. And it was a bellows camera, and is a kind of memento, and I had it in my office. So somebody saw it one day and said, "Oh, I see you collect cameras." The truth was, I didn't collect cameras, but it was nice to have a Miss Stone memento. And but it's the non-collection grew into a collection, and there's a lot of them. But I asked about whether it was white, because there was a year when they gave out to every child who was born or something.
12-year-old.
All right, hey,
I think there was a 12-year-old, and I think her pharmacy, the guy, what was the guy's name? Mr.
was
Lucas?
it Frank Lucas at the
Oh,
time,
Frank.
or
Yeah, okay, he gave one to every 12-year-old
Really?
a Kodak camera. And that was just basically to encourage taking pictures.
That was before I worked for him.
Okay, could be. Yeah, that's why I asked. It could be.
how did you start out with Mr. Lucas?
Well, I had an idea in my head that all my life, I wanted to be in a service profession. I wanted to combine math and science. I wanted to be where people were. And so anything I did along the way was working in that direction. And I had been sent by my mother to go and buy cards a few times in Lucas Pharmacy because my mother was scared of Mr. Lucas. And I think there were other people who were too. I want to make it very clear, he had a heart of gold. And he did things for Webster that nobody even knew he was doing. And he was marvelous. I remember the article that used to appear in the, excuse me, in the Reader's Digest about the most unforgettable character I've ever met. He was one of mine. And I have to give him credit for everything that he did. The way he did it, the way he served others, the way he treated his employees. And I felt that when he sold the Wally Weiner and Milk Case sold the Wally Weiner, and we were all in his world, we had the best background we could have had. And I think everybody in Webster should realize we were rare recipients.
Did Mr. Lucas have a family?
Did Mr. Lucas have a family? He was married to Genevieve Furness, and her family was here in Webster also. It was Mr. Lucas and Genevieve's second marriage for her. And Mr. Lucas served in the First World War. And after he got finished with his wartime, he had been born and brought up in Avon, and he went to pharmacy school in Buffalo. He had one of the lowest certificates of the fact that he was a registered pharmacist. We all had a number, and his was number 993. And that's chronological order in the whole state of New York. And he was a registered pharmacist. Mr. Case was a druggist, was his title. When they began to register pharmacists, they automatically made the druggists pharmacists. So they were all on the same level. The druggists had a little less time in pharmacy school than we did. By the time I was in pharmacy school, it was a 4-year course. It became a 5-year course very soon after that, and it's now a doctorate, which takes 6 years. And these were changing near the end of my career, and it was a reason why pharmacy wasn't what I put together to want to be. So it was time for the future trainees to take over, and we all saw that coming. And that's why I admire Sandy for sticking with it. It's just unbelievable.
Who was the young woman that worked at the pharmacy and she died of cancer?
Arla Keys.
Was
Yeah.
it Middleton?
Charlotte
Arlene
Newton, are you
Keyes.
thinking of?
Who?
Charlotte Newton?
How about Arlene Keyes?
Arlie Keys.
Arlie Keys.
Lived on
We all vote for Arlie Keys. We were all stock boys, cashiers, or anything else. Arlie
Keys worked
Arlie
with us.
Keys,
She was
and she
not a
died.
pharmacist.
But she worked at
She
some
worked there,
counter.
but she
Yeah.
had cancer.
Yes, Arlie did.
Okay.
She'd be the only
Charlotte
person
did
that
too.
would be smoking behind the counter. Wait on the customer, give her a cigarette.
Remember, that's the first person who said to me something about the moths coming out of my wallet, and I had no idea what she was talking about. And she explained it to me.
I was scared of her because I was young, but if I would like run into her, I'm like, I'm sorry. We go stop.
She was her own person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go back to Mr. Lucas.
So how did you get a job with Mr. Lucas?
We need to get back to that, don't we?
I'm excited to find out if you asked him or he asked you or how that came to be. I know.
Mr. Lucas called me.
Oh.
And the reason that he did was that he was a good friend of Bill Arndt, who had a pharmacy in Rochester on the corner of Culver and Parcells Avenue. And the Arndts lived in Webster, and he had a background here. And Bill told him about me, and he said, get her if you can. So he called me up, and he wanted to know if I'd come and work for him. And I said yes, right away, which I did. On March 18th of 1949, in my junior year of high school, ending that, I started working for Mr. Lucas, and I was with him for 46 years.
Oh, wow.
And Wally. I mean, that was the beginning of my time. I became a pharmacist licensed in 1956.
So,
After our
Did you
son
work when you had
Dan, who was
children?
here today, was born. And it took that time in between for me to get in my practical time and my training time at the University of Buffalo for the 4 years. So that gave me 39 years to actually be a registered pharmacist. And when Mr. Lucas called me, he had a few pieces of advice. And I want to mention several things that were strictly Frank Lucas. One was to start with, excuse me, to start with the building that we were in. Mr. Lucas owned that. He had bought it from Art Leedy, and it was sold to him with quarters that Mr. Lucas had collected all his life. And I don't know what price he paid, but that's how he bought the store, the business, and the building. And forever after, we can be grateful that things happened in that building, like we didn't have hot water when I started working. We had a dirt floor in the basement with windows in the front of the building that you could look out of at the dirt and the trolley ties that were out in the road. I don't know whether that all is still exposed there or not. It's the building where M.O. is with his business. Yeah. And that's the one I'm talking about. It had a third floor on it, which used to be the Webster Theater with gas lights. And you could see the lake from there. And it became a favorite place to be watching for the enemy in World War I. So, Mr. Lucas was in World War I and World War II. He was not in World War II, but that was also a lookout, as was the Webster,
Hotel?
The hotel, yeah. They had cupola up on top for World War II in that building, and they had people watching.
What was your license number?
What's it?
He's wondering what your license number
You
was.
told us Lucas's.
21023.
Put that down, it'll be on the credit card
I was a lot
application.
later than Mr. Lucas.
It's still a pretty low number.
But anyway, when I started working for him, the first thing he wanted me to do was to do the dusting. He said, you'll learn where everything is that way. Well, the truth of the story was that pharmacy was second only to a hardware for all the stuff that it had. And that was a challenge, but I did learn it that way. So I was dusting one night when fewer people were coming in, on my hands and knees as usual, trying to get around the whole store while I was clerking. And he came and he said to me, Susie. That's what he called me because he heard my mother call me Susie. He says, all of that dusting will wait till tomorrow. It'll be right here when you come back.
It was true.
It was 9:45, and we were supposed to close at 9:30, and I was still dusting. He wanted to go home. So anyway, that was one of the things that we had fun over. Another thing was that
Oh, it's free.
he had certain things that were Lucas typical, and one of them was when they started the sales tax. And probably some of you could remember a ceramic toilet that he had, I don't know what it was, a bungee cord or something, he had around the cash register, and that ceramic toilet was next to it. And when people came in and bought things, the tax money went in the toilet. The rest went in the cash register. And Mr. Lucas never did any bookkeeping for the county with that. They never argued with him. That was the end of the story. What went in there, they got. That was it. Another piece of bookkeeping that he did was he had one of those pads that had carbon in it, so you can make 2 copies of everything. When people could not afford what they came in for and they wanted to charge it, he gave them their copy, he kept his copy. At Christmas time, if it had not been paid, he sent them a Merry Christmas with the top copy. And he did that every year that I worked for him.
How nice.
I have no idea what any of that amounted to, but it was part of his genuineness. And he just had a whole lot to do with what was going on with life in Webster and knowing the people. And I think he won a lot of hearts during his time. He had a lending library in the front of the store. That was for people who lived in town and wanted to read something, and we didn't have a town library at that point. It was sort of combined with the high school library. Spry was our high school. It was built and opened up in 1925. And when we graduated, Spry was 25 years old. So our graduation was the 25th anniversary emphasis in the Reveille, our yearbook. And that whole piece of Webster time, I've recently discovered, was the same year that Frank Lucas bought the store, that the high school at Spry opened. So that paralleled. And every day when I walked to work after school, I passed all the houses on South Avenue between the two and went around the corner for work. And of course I figured out who lived in the houses and where the last outdoor toilet was and who had barns for their garages and all of that. It was fun. So anyway, those are a couple of things that he did, and that lending library was just one section next to the front door. At that point, we were in one side of that building. Eventually, we expanded to both sides, and that's what Wally ended up having when he bought us, as well as the corner drugstore where Mel Case had his pharmacy. But it was my privilege to live long enough and be a pharmacist long enough to work side by side with all of these pharmacists that I've mentioned. And it was because Mr. Lucas got me started. I never felt any problem about the fact that I was a female. I never realized that I was not the first one in Webster until just a few years ago. I was on a tour at the Webster Baptist Church, and the first female pharmacist in the state of New York was related to the Van Alstyne Mason family tree, and she is commemorated on a window in the Baptist church. And I was the second one in Webster because she was here to practice. Her family line had owned the store before Art Leedy, before Mr. Lucas. So I don't know how many there are now, probably more women than men, but what difference does it make?
Carolyn, did your mother ever, oh, I'm sorry. Carolyn, did your mother become less afraid of Mr. Lucas?
Yes, she did. She did. She enjoyed him. When we found out there was another side to him. And I think she thought I was pretty brave to go in there and buy cards and to say yes to working for him, because it was still a feeling that it was, my mother wasn't the only one. But he was.
Carolyn, I know you had 5 children. Did you work through all those years with the children?
Yes.
Yeah?
Just let me back up for 1 minute. I want to
Okay,
say
I'm sorry.
that Lynn and Bob Barton live in the house on Elm Street that was the Lucas house.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I've often told them if they take any walls apart in that house, they might find a roll of money in there. Because every night he walked home with the day's money rolled up in his pocket. And we all worried about him, but he made it.
But he was right
So,
close to the
to get
bank,
back
right?
Okay, yeah.
to your question,
Okay, my question is,
He was on
you had a
film.
big family.
yes,
Did you work the store
yes.
with all your children?
Yes, we did, and we were very fortunate that when I started working, and we had children, and I took a little time off, but not much, and Dan was working full-time at Kodak. He worked days in a carpool. We had 1 car, we never had 2 cars. And I could walk to work at Lucas's, and Dan could drive his day for the carpool. And Dan was home at night, and I worked a lot of nights. We had a pattern that was 13 hours long. You worked afternoon and evening and the following morning. And that made 13 hours. And that was how our pharmaceutical shifts worked. It was kind of an odd way. It didn't change all the time like they do now, but anyway, it worked for us. And it gave me time at home with the family and with Dan there a lot of the time. We had next door neighbors that Babby sat back and forth with, and we had my parents in town, and I became a babysitter while I was having my school time. Before I got married, I was babysitting for the neighborhood. Those were my first jobs that got me through college, so that I paid my own way in college. But that can't be done anymore either. And it's hard to imagine today.
Wasn't there something about when?
So I met my husband.
What was me?
Am I getting there?
You're
Yeah,
good.
you're getting there.
Okay. I met my husband in an odd way. Everybody wonders about our family story, so I might as well tell it. My dad was a minister at a Buffalo, New York church, And he and my mom had met in college, and she was at Eastman School of Music after college out in Illinois for college. Dad was out in Illinois, and he had his first year of seminary out there to become a minister while she was at Eastman. And they decided to get married after he was assigned to the Buffalo Church. And they promised him that he would be moved in time to finish his seminary education at Colgate Rochester, in Rochester, which happened. And so they were married in the Buffalo Church, and one of our relatives was babysitting Dan, who was 3 years older than I. And she wanted to go to my mom and dad's wedding, so she took Dan. So that was our first meeting. and we had them many times after that, as youth fellowship people, as campers at summers. And he was in the service, Dan was, after he had gone to North Central. We were not out there at the same time again because he was drafted, and we left Buffalo and were moved to Rochester. So there were some years in there that we weren't together, but it was very easy to get back together again. And so we've had a lot of parallels between the families all of our time. And Dan passed away in December of 2021. And he was just a wonderful husband and father and grandfather. And you know, the rest of the story is that we had 5 children and we somehow managed it. And
How about Sunday dinners?
we had when the kids were home, we had dinner together every night. We figured out.
Yeah, but do you have
Pretty
Sunday
much.
dinners?
Now we have Sunday dinner most Sundays together. It's
Amazing.
it's been something that's developed along the years for us to do that, but it's a great time to have the family together. We try to make it clear that we don't expect everybody to come every week. We want them to go to the other side of the family too, but we're always glad when we get a good bunch in our house. So I
Nice.
think parking is more in the church parking lot than in our front lawn. Anyway, it all works. So the 5 children.
It was one of the benefits of living right around the corner from the church, was certainly
Yeah.
walking to church, and the Martins would come out of their house in the bend there, and it was,
That's for
was all
sure.
good.
Yep.
Wasn't Mr. Lucas responsible to a certain degree for Dad getting a job at Kodak?
Yes. He was.
I forget what the story was on that, but there's another piece of Mr. Lucas.
There was a man working at Kodak named Littermakers, Dr. Littermakers, and he was the one that knew Mr. Lucas. And when Dan applied for a job, Littermakers asked for him. At that time, they were developing the research area, and Ed Brisbillowitz from Webster was very involved with that. He has had a large family too.
12, I think is the answer.
I shouldn't even say 2, it was twice the size of ours. But anyway, it all worked out so that we did get in all the connections, and Dan had a 34-year career at Kodak before he was asked by Wally to work at the drugstore and take care of the car department. So he did that for 10 years after Kodak.
And some time at Scott Funeral Home too.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, he did that too, yeah.
In Union Hill Fire Department.
Yeah. It's what happens when you teach, when you take that was Mom's suggestion. You remember suggesting to Dad that he take we got the kids, we should take the Red Cross, what to do in case of an emergency. That set Dad off on a long and very, very
You can
good
tell 'em about
good
that,
time.
Kevin.
Delivered a baby and but there was
Was he with Union Hill Ambulance?
yeah.
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 He worked with the Union Hill Volunteer Ambulance as an EMT eventually, and taught EMTs. Worked with Artie Warnbrand, who many of you know, and Don Bilger, and Ruth Corcoran, and
Mrs.
yeah, over on London.
London or something.
O'Gorman.
Joan O'Gorman. Yeah. When you were at work and Papa and Google were watching us, Google was watching carefully underneath the newspaper as she took a nap. But Papa would sometimes take us around the block and take us up to, we wouldn't tell Mom that we bought candy. I think they were lifesavers. I mean,
I thought they were feeding the
limit of it.
squirrels, that's what I heard.
Well, that could have been the story. But they were great. It was great we'd typically walk down Elm Street.
You came down Dunning too, because I remember when I grew up where Carl and Jody lived. And I remember your grandpa with a stroller.
Yeah.
Taking, the grandkids down the street. That happened a lot. He would take them out for walks.
Did you ever get to see Earl Smith?
I don't remember
Earl Smith wore a hat. He'd give you the tip of the hat.
Keep smiling.
And what's it?
He always said, keep smiling.
It was a good. For me, he's burned in my memory. And the grape lady, Mrs. Quakendall.
Yeah, on
And
the
then-
corner.
Yeah, on the corner of Lapham and Elm there.
If you've ever noticed, most of the houses on Elm Street have or have had front porches. And people just used to walk down and visit whoever was on their front porch. We knew the neighbors. It was wonderful. And they knew what we were doing.
R.L. Thomas and his wife lived on Elm Street.
Yes, right across from us. They were in 30 Elm and we were in 27. And
Were the
R.L.
Cumans there?
Thomas welcomed us to Webster. He was already the principal in Webster when we came, and he came over to the house while we were moving in, and he'd broken his glasses, and he had a piece of, not anything clear, a piece of tape holding the glasses together. And any of you who know him know he was just a little slight guy, but boy, he was a bundle of everything. And he knew we had a great time with the Thomases across the street. And what else?
Well, I got to know Mr. Quakendall after we called Mrs. Quakendall the grape lady because there were always grapes on her porch and you were welcome to them. And then Mr. Quakendall took me in. They were raising African violets. They had all sorts of African violets in the basement and throughout the house, I think, too. But you could see them in the window. But downstairs in the basement was rows and rows and under lights and everything. And they had a farm somewhere where he was raising bees too. So you could learn about how to get honey out of the bees and learn how to propagate African violets. And
Dave, which house was it?
the corner of Lapham and Elm, but southwest, southeast corner.
Okay, yep.
The very corner
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. Pretty stained glass on the one side and so.
So, our children's generation all graduated from Webster High in the Spry building and then at H.W. Schrader.
We all were at Spry for some class or other.
How many of your
Oh,
children?
yeah,
worked
you
at
had
the
junior
drugstore
high.
with you?
I had kindergarten there too.
Well, yes, it's true. I mean, you can tell it.
Well, I always found it a little humorous when there would be a great uproar if the school district was changing who was going to go to what school. And I was like, well, wait a minute, I went to Spry, I went to State Road, I went to Ridgecrest, and bounced back and forth between Ridgecrest and State Road. So, it was like, and I understand the parent thought, but man, when I got to junior high, and there were guys that I knew from State Road, and guys that I knew from Ridgecrest, and it was all good. It was all good. So this year's 50 years. I was a Spry Schrader 76.
Yep.
Sandy had a question. How many of your children worked at the drugstore
With you.
with you?
How many?
How many of your children worked at the drugstore with you?
I think four of us. I think.
Who didn't work there?
Sharon?
She knew enough to go to the library,
Yeah.
right?
Which is good, because we needed books to read.
Yeah, by then they didn't have the lending library at Frank Lucas's pharmacy. That was a Rexall drug.
Yep.
It was a Rexall 1 cent sale, and
Yep.
I don't remember. There are things that I don't have a recollection of Mr. Lucas's at all, other than as a card shop.
How about the rock candy that he used to sell? He used to have them in big, tall, and they were different colors.
Well,
You could reach in and.
The show globe.
They were on strings and you just got.
I know what you're talking about. I think for us, there was a trip to Bowman's. Wood floor, as I recall, it was on West Main, the north side of West Main, which I don't know if that's correct.
That was later. That was after they were next to us. Bowman's was
Okay.
in the other half of that building for a while.
Really? See,
Yeah.
I get the
Yeah.
feel that it changed
It was before
location.
they moved across the street.
And as I understand it, there was a, next to the Grange, it may still be there, next to the Grange was a circle of stones, which, as I remember, as I remember the story, it was like that was the well for Bowman's when Bowman's was there or something. But I don't know whether it's
Their
bingo.
house was
I
there.
was gonna say I don't know if it was a house or what.
Goldfish pond out in front.
Got
At
the
one point, that 8 or 10 foot circle.
Yeah.
That was at one point a goldfish pond.
Oh. Like, let's just stop by Lucas Pharmacy and get the goldfish bowl at Rexall, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was a freebie. A lot of people took advantage of that. It was special at that time. A bowl of water with a fish in it. Yep.
There's a lot of interest now in collecting pharmaceutical bottles. Did you have any interest in collecting those bottles when plastic prescription drugs came in?
You're still in favor of glass over plastic. Would it be fair to say?
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think that goes back to your pharmacy days?
Did she collect any bottles from old bottles?
No, she left that.
What'd you say?
Mom,
David doesn't know
We
for
collected them
detail.
way back when I started working, and we soaked them in cold pails of water. They were the little bottles that everything came in, because we didn't have things like plastic, different sizes
Yeah.
and glasses and so forth. Anyway, we soaked them in pails of cold water, got the labels off, called them clean and dispensed.
it's a good thing the
That's as
FDA
much as-
wasn't around at the time. And
They had medicine in them, so we put more medicine in, with cold water in between. It wasn't anything that anybody, there weren't any rules to stop that. I think most pharmacies were doing that.
That's interesting.
Did you have a barrel of molasses down
We
south?
used to put, people brought their bottles back in and you refilled. them.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
You reused them over and over.
Not anymore.
Yes, and we had a barrel of molasses in the basement on the dirt floor that was there. It was a good thing it was, I guess. We just had to wait for that to soak in. There wasn't anything we could do to clean it up. It fermented and broke in the basement. There's all kinds of stuff we could. We could keep you here all day with stories. But I think it's important to mention that we were very happily married and have been the original owners of the house on Curtis Park. And I don't feel like I've been there as many years as I have. It's been about 66 years, 67 years that we've been there. David had arrived while we were still living on Ridge Road. And Danny was before David. And then we had Janet, and we had Sharon, and we had Lori. Aren't you glad we didn't have 20 kids? There wouldn't have been room for all of you. But they all have found their way to service professions, and we're so glad that we've got the family around in Webster and very close by in New York State. And when it gets to grandchildren, they've got reasons to get in other places, but we see them as often as we can. And we've got a whole bunch of great-grands. So
It was-
One grandchild here. We got one grandchild here today.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was certainly helpful.
She's one of the grands.
Yes.
And you had to put an addition on the house
Linnea.
in order to be able to host Sunday dinner, essentially.
Yes.
That's what,
We did that the year that Sharon married Jeff Scott.
it wasn't our fault.
And they were going that was 1993. And they were married at our campsite that our denomination owned down in Italy Valley. And they needed a place to practice for the wedding. And we decided maybe that was a good time to do what we had debated too long already. So we added on, and they rehearsed their wedding in our house.
Oh, that's nice.
And then we went down to Camp Koinonia for it.
The only sad thing is it took out the porch that Opa built, that your
Yes.
grandfather had helped build, or
My grandfather in his retirement came and lived with us for about 6 months, and he built the fruit cellar in our house, and he built a screen-in back porch on the outside, and a lot of other little things that he did too while he was there.
a
He
back porch
he
was
a
a
carpenter.
the back porch was a lifesaver for us kids. There was no such there was no air conditioning in the house, but Mom was very good about pulling the curtains after. Open the windows at when it gets dark, and you close them up in the daytime, and close the curtains, and you're good. You got the go play outside or play on the porch, but it was all good.
We did do that.
With all the things that your husband did, how did he find time to cook for the church? I remember him in the kitchen, just.
We had a group in church that was just wonderful. They were in the same situation that we were at the church that we've referred to. They were young families, children coming along. None of us had any extra money for anything. We met in each other's homes once a month. We did everything for nothing, just about. And we all saw each other's families grow up together, and the kids knew each other. It was like having a big family. It was a wonderful group that obviously we've lost in the process, but we're so glad for all the inheritance that there is from that group. And we haven't been able to keep track of all of the children and the grandchildren and all the families, but we're glad we know where some of them are. And we've done our best to keep in touch.
And there's a pretty good picture of all of the parents and the kids
Yeah,
being baptized. Was that a baptism or was it?
that was Christian Home Builders, which was the group older than our class of families. And they had a baptism with my dad while he was the pastor there for some of their children. There were 29 baptized that day.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's the picture that we have.
It's in the showcase if you ever
Yeah.
go take a look. It's
There are,
pretty neat photo.
it is. And it was a marvelous time, a highlight, that's for sure.
So Judy was wondering how Dad got into cooking for at church, and I think that probably stems from the mother's.
Union Hill Fire Department. That's where he learned about the spaghetti dinners that they had out there. And Joe Obie was the one who did the cooking out at the fire department, and Dan helped him. And Joe was always willing to share his recipe, which we have, and which we continue to make. And they just put on some of those spaghetti dinners at our church, and Dan worked on them there.
Well, he worked like a
Eventually.
slave. He did. He put his heart into it.
But our group, we had a Swiss steak meal that Mary Louise Walker canned all the tomatoes with the meat for the Swiss steak dinner that we had. And
Oh,
then
my goodness.
when we had it, she produced all of that for us.
Strawberry.
The home builders had a strawberry festival time. And they had a turkey dinner that they put on. And we did some different things, but they were money raisers for the church.
There was always the women's dinner, and I think that
The mothers and
a lot
daughters
of,
banquet.
yeah, that's a mother-daughter banquet.
David arrived right after a mother and daughter
But I like to
banquet.
say I was the only boy to ever attend the mother-daughter banquet.
Everybody wondered why I sat there as long as I did.
It's a bit of an exaggeration, but not too much.
You were born a few hours later?
Yeah, minute after midnight. Mom likes to say that they had the birth certificate all written out for May 6th, and they had to go get another one. I held off until a minute after midnight.
Well, Mr. Utz offered many years to bake the turkeys for the turkey dinner.
Really?
In his ovens at the bakery.
Which Mr. Utz are you talking about?
Not Fred, probably
Okay.
George.
George?
Yeah.
Okay. That was another trip with Papa, was going to Utz Bakery and watching, I think it was Marlene.
Yeah.
Marlene? I think it was Marlene decorating the cakes. I don't know if we ever saw Mrs.
We had special birthday cakes for many years in our family, done by the Utzes.
Who didn't? Everybody knows an Utz cake, right? We're still waiting for it. But that was a good visit too. Papa took us to an auction that they had at the Grange one day. That was he gave us instructions on don't sneeze, don't raise your hand, don't move. That's good, yeah. I don't know. You remember that, Danny? But I don't know. It was early in the ball game, I would say.
I bet some of you could tell some of these same stories. I hope we've reminded you of some of your own, because that's part of the fun of History in a Cup.
I think you told us why Webster is where life is worth living.
Well, it definitely is.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for my religious heritage, grateful for my national heritage, I'm grateful for my
family,
official tree. And I'm grateful for having had all these years in Webster, and that our family was able to be raised here in Webster. And
And
I
we're all
feel
grateful for the
especially
family
blessed
you
that for the longevity that I've had to see so much happen in Webster, and to have family that we've been able to live long enough to know. And I'm sure Webster's got a wonderful future. It's gonna be different, but there still is enough of, quote, old Webster, that there are people who moved to Webster and they admit that they wanted to come here to live, as different as it seems to some of us. And they realize that there's something about our area that's very welcoming, and a good place to live and have things that you can do and enjoy. We're very blessed to have had all of this.
And it's still fun to look at new old photos.
I'm sorry, you guys, I didn't get one in this week.
How many do you have, Lynn?
I don't know. I
They're-
don't know, but
They're fantastic photos.
I try.
Incredibly lucky to have them return to Webster.
Yeah, I do have some other ones from the Roger Wall group that I got,
Gotcha.
so I'll be putting some more in. But
It's-
I didn't get it.
They go with our years. And I'm glad I can remember so much of what you are writing so well. That's, I haven't mentioned Esther Dunn yet, and I do want to, because she was my teacher the first year that we were in Webster in 7th grade. And we were with her all the way. When we graduated, she was the advisor to our Reveille. And she did everything meticulously. What's in Webster through the years has been researched so that she wouldn't have written it if it wasn't proven to her. And I dearly believe it's been 55 years since that came out. I think it's time to have a sequel. And we've got some people that are in places where they could pitch in on that. I don't think anybody could do it alone. But Esther Dunn certainly did the bulk of the work. And she was born in 1901. I think she was 82 when she died.
She lived on Lake Road,
lived
right?
on Lake Road the whole life.
What
Yeah.
did she, and I read, I think, where she rode the bicycle.
Yeah.
Just,
She did everything, and
yeah.
that Webster through the years is a gem. I don't know whether there are any that have not been sold, but if you have one, you're lucky.
And we've got them for sale in the store here.
And I have her message to me in the copy that I have, and I treasure it.
Oh, really?
Carolyn, do you know when the building where Frank Lucas was, when that was built? We don't know.
Do you know when the Lucas building was built?
I do not know.
Yeah,
I could look it up, maybe.
Yeah, I know George
Where?
Mason had
You
it
gonna look it up?
built.
Who had it built?
It's an old building,
George.
there's no question about that, and it's been repurposed many times.
Lynn was saying George Mason had it built.
That's possible.
And then he added on where Foley's is. I know that was, I think, 1896, because the laws changed and post offices had to be in separate locations. They couldn't be in someone's business or home. So he built that on as the post office, and I think it was like 1896 or something.
Lynn's saying that where Foley Insurance was a post office.
Yeah. And Genevieve worked in the post office, Frank Lucas's wife. She also worked in it when it was on, Lapham Park,
I grew up in
where
the
the
Furnace
quilt
house,
place is now.
Genevieve's house. So I was meant to move around
The
the
drugstore was in the front part, but the whole side that goes on down Lapham Park behind the drugstore.
But why the design of that place,
1984.
that whole building? It looks like an opera house or?
Yeah, it was, that's what it was called. The upstairs had a stage and
They built it like for that reason?
That's where the Grange originally met up
a
there.
lot
Oh,
of,
really?
a lot of organizations
Before they
had their
built the
meetings.
According to AI, the Lucas store was opened in 1884, built in 1884.
18.
Yeah.
1884.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Not fully convinced.
Was your
I'm gonna
father
probably
a
go with
Methodist
that.
minister?
Was he?
Was your father a Methodist minister?
Yes.
Be-
As
became-
it has evolved.
Oh, when you said Bexley Hall,
It started, he was
CRDS
evangelical to begin with. And then we became Evangelical United Brethren in 1946. Then we became United Methodist in 1968. In 1972.
When we merged, 87.
And Dad was alive during those times.
when you said CRDS, I thought.
But he stuck with that family tree of the churches.
What a treat, right guys? What a treat.